Actors, we've all got issues, so let's talk about them. I'm Juan Ayala, and welcome to Actors with Issues. Each week, we bring you interviews with actors from across TV, film, and Broadway, taking many deep dives into their careers and getting into the successes, the struggles, and of course, the issues that they face as actors. That's enough about us. Let's dive into the episode. Today's guest is a young actress making her TV movie debut in the upcoming Lifetime movie, The Bad Seed Returns, the highly anticipated sequel to 2018's The Bad Seed. It's Ella Dixon. Ella, thank you so much for being here. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
So before we dive into the movie, we always do start with a rapid fire game called Getting to Know You. So just throw some questions your way. We start with an easy one: coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Film or television?
Film.
Drama
Film.
or comedy?
Drama.
Hero or villain?
Hero.
Stage acting or screen acting?
Screen acting.
What actors had the biggest influence on you?
Jodie Comer.
Good choice. What is the last show that you binge watched?
Actually, I binge watched. Oh, Stranger Things.
It's a popular answer lately.
Yeah, yeah.
What was your first non-acting job, assuming you've had one?
First non-act. When I was like, so random. When I was like 5, my entire kindergarten class recorded like background singing for a reggae album for like one song. And I have no idea what album it was. I'm trying to find it. I'm like actively trying to find it. But yeah, first job.
That's so funny. Your vocals are out there somewhere.
Yeah, they are.
What movie never fails to make you laugh?
Bridesmaids.
And what movie never fails to make you cry?
Spider-Man No Way Home.
Good choice. That's a fresh one too.
Yeah.
Day off. Are you watching a horror movie or a rom-com?
Rom-com.
If you could guest star on any TV show, which would you choose?
I'd say Euphoria. Euphoria would be fun.
And lastly, describe your most memorable audition in 3 words. And memorable can be good or bad, so that's up to you.
Spear, pacing. Wow.
Spear is in there.
Spear.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll leave
I'll
that
leave
up to
that
the
for
audience's
interpretation.
event.
Yeah.
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 So I did get to see the movie in advance, and I loved the first one. It was 4 years ago now, and like, we say highly anticipated for a lot of different projects, but like really, this one has been one that people have been wanting for so long. And I always commend actors who do the horror or thriller genre because to me, it just looks like the most exhausting one. Having to keep, I'm sure you agree, but keeping those stakes up for so
Right,
long,
right.
take after take. So before we dive into the movie, let's go back to your audition for the project. So this is sort of like a during COVID project.
Mhm.
So what was that whole experience like for you? I'm sure it was a tape and then, things went on, but
Yeah.
what was that whole audition experience like for you?
It was actually pretty simple. It was a self-tape, and I'd say like late October. And then, a couple weeks went by, and then I got a call. Like it was pretty simple. I mean, there were like emails leading up to the day, like the day that I got a call. I was actually in Disneyland
Oh,
with
really?
my dad, and I got an email. Like I was standing in line for Splash Mountain. I get an email that I've been shortlisted, and that was the first time I'd ever been shortlisted. Like I'd done callbacks and stuff, but you send a self tape and it's like sending it into a vacuum. Sometimes you hear back, sometimes you don't. It's like, okay, did that, cool, moving on. And so I heard I was shortlisted and I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. And then a couple days later, again, in line, Splash Mountain, I get the call that I got the job.
So
So
you
it
didn't have
was,
like any sort of chemistry reads or
no,
anything, but wow,
no,
interesting.
yeah.
And this being like your first sort of like major role, like
Mhm.
what was your reaction to booking it? Were you nervous, excited, a bit of both?
So excited. So excited. I mean, I've grown up watching McKenna's work. And so, knowing like when I taped, I knew that, McKenna was attached to it and that she'd written it. And so it was just beyond exciting to be able to, share a screen with her and share a scene with her and just be able to work off of her and learn from her. It was fantastic, but also, first movie. So I'm like, oh, okay, like
Yeah.
how do I prepare? So I think the biggest thing was figuring out my process as, actory as that sounds.
Mhm.
Just figuring out like what works for me, what doesn't, and doing it in the condensed amount of time that I had leading up to the shoot. But yeah, it was mostly excitement.
And without getting into spoilers and things like that, because this will come out before the movie does, what can you share about your character and sort of their trajectory and arc in the movie?
My character Kat, I the film picks up about a couple years after the first film. So Emma's sort of, she's acclimated into society. She's popular, she's living with her aunt, she's very sort of she's getting into the flow of things, she's used to things. And then, I show up and I am kind of where I'm going to be one of the reasons why we see Emma in one of the hardest situations she's ever been in. I think I know Emma, I know her secrets, I know that she's a psychopath, and it's my agenda to let the rest of the world know that as well. And
Mm.
so I think Emma really does meet her match with Kat. And it'll be interesting to see, how that plays out, who gets the upper hand on that one. But yeah.
Yeah. And given that these sort of genre movies can be so sort of emotionally draining, and as if acting isn't already difficult doing take after take of anything, this is sort of like can get highly emotional. The stakes are there. What would you say is a lesson you learned while working on the movie?
Having like an anchor, like a routine coming home, that
Mm.
really just sort of you can like relax. That was really helpful for me, just because in this film, one of the biggest things that I learned about myself as an actor, and one of the things that our director Louise Archambault really sort of emphasized, was the vulnerability of everything. Like
Mm.
it's very simple to just be like, oh my god, I'm scared, but to find that nuance of vulnerability was something that she tried to integrate into every single scene. And I hope that it comes across. I know that McKenna and I we really worked on it, and the rest of the cast. Like, it was a major part of, I guess, this film, and my character especially, Kat. And so you're playing with that vulnerability and you're exploring that all day. And so when you get home, it's sort of it's imperative really to find that routine to just sort of come back to yourself as a person and kind of reset for the next day.
So I know you're young, but there are always things that I'm sure you wish you learned a little bit earlier in your career, or maybe right before working on this project. So what comes to mind as something that you know now about the entertainment industry, or even being an actor or acting itself, that you wish you'd learned earlier?
I think just telling the stories that you love, like not letting other people's shoulds become your reality,
Mm.
if that makes sense. Like even a couple months ago, I was very much of the mindset of like, I can't say no to anything. Like this is what people are saying I should be doing. So, oh, they know more than me, I'll follow them. But I think if your heart isn't in something, or if you're getting a feeling where you're like, maybe not, we tell the best stories and the best parts of ourselves comes across when we are doing things that make us feel alive and doing
Mm.
things that we can connect to and that we feel good about. And so I think to just really, take ownership of like, for me, taking ownership of who I am, the stories that I want to tell, the stories that I connect with, and sort of starting that conversation rather than just sort of following a path that I think, I should follow, if that makes sense.
And just going back to the movie a little bit, are you a fan of sort of the horror and thriller genre, or not so much?
I mean, I'm a very jumpy person. I didn't used to be. I used to like devour horror movies, and I have massive appreciation for them. Like the artistry that goes into horror movies is insane. Like special effects, editing, like everything is just mind blowing to me. And
Mm.
I wish I could go through a haunted house and sit through movies like it and stuff like that. But literally, like a pin will drop on the ground, and I'll be like, ah, like I'm a very jumpy person. But I hopefully one day I'll be able to really sit and relax. But
Yeah.
yeah.
But I'm curious if you based your character off of, or did you draw inspiration from any of the many sort of, final girls in so many classic horror movies, Sidney Prescott, Laurie
Mhm.
Strode, anyone like that?
Not really. I mean, I never really thought about it that way. That's actually kind of cool. But no, I just did, the prep. Like I journaled as the character,
Mm.
regular actor prep, I guess. building character based on what I saw in the script and what McKenna and her dad, Ross, they co-wrote the script, what they sort of, the clues that they kind of wove into the script for me. That was insanely helpful. But no, I didn't really face any final girl on Cap, but yeah.
And I'm also curious if there are any sort of genres you haven't worked in yet that you hope to in the near future, if there are any sort of like anything on your bucket list as an actor.
Oof. Well, I love like really I love grounded drama, like oh God. I mean, like the entire vibe of Call Me by Your Name, and just like
Mm.
it's, I guess, lower budget films like that are just more about. I mean, every film is about relationship, but lower budget films like that are just very grounded in one particular relationship.
Mm.
Film or shows like Euphoria are really cool. I love the vibe of that, but yeah, I mean, I'm open to honestly anything,
Mm.
like anything the world has to offer, and yeah, I'll take it.
Awesome. Well, before we go, we always wrap up with a non-rapid fire game called Now That We Know You, since we've gotten to chat for a bit. So fill in the blank. If I weren't working in the arts, I'd be.
If you weren't working, I'd be, well, I'd want to be a professional athlete, but I'd probably be a chef.
Me too. What role have you had the most fun playing?
I mean, I've only played cat professionally, but not professionally. I'd say either cat or I played Joan of Arc. That was fun.
Cool.
Yeah.
If you could have lunch with any actor, alive or dead, who would you choose?
Oh, Jodie Comer.
What is the best advice you've ever gotten?
Just do it.
And what's the worst advice you've ever gotten?
It's not mold.
And lastly, in 10 words or less, what advice would you give to a young actor?
I would say just go play.
Mm. Let's go back to the core of it. It's called a play for
It's
a
called a
reason.
play.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Well, Ella, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us on the show today. If folks want to give you a follow on Instagram or anywhere on social media, where can they find you?
I'm at Ella M. Dixon on Instagram.
Awesome. And folks, as always, you can find us on Instagram at Actors with Issues. Give me a follow at Juaniala Official, and be sure to subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts, and check out our YouTube channel for new video episodes every Monday with bonus episodes on Thursdays. And don't miss Ella Dixon and the Bad Seed Returns, airing September 5th on Lifetime. I'm Juaniala. This is Actors with Issues, and we'll see you next week.